talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Turn your dial to cable 18. You will see the best in TV. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Sit back and listen. You will hear the best conversation of the year. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom.
Welcome to Talking with Tom. I'm Tom Dacey alongside Ed McCarver. Hello, Edward.
Tommy, how are you tonight? Good to be here in studio once again.
Good. I know, and tonight is kind of a serious show for us.
Yeah.
We are dedicating this show this evening to the memory of a former NHTV colleague, Kevin Tennyson. Many of our viewers may remember Kevin as the host of Cruisin' Magazine. He was also big into New Haven hockey.
Yeah, I did not have the privilege of knowing this gentleman, but I feel like I do know him from his work here at NHTV. I think Cruisin' Magazine has been on since 1987.
Yes.
I believe, and is somewhat of a little bit of a hockey aficionado. I am familiar with some of his hockey shows that he did over the years. I have to say, one thing that NHTV does, which is nice, that every once in a while they kind of open the archives and play some of the vintage shows. And I remember it had to be like, maybe 18 months ago or something. They did a Kevin Tennyson show with a lot of the old New Haven Blades and New Haven Nighthawks, and it was an awesome show.
Yes, he was very much into New Haven hockey. Yep. And was at quite a few Nighthawk games, and you know, what was the team after the Nighthawks? The Beast, I believe it was.
Yeah,
right?
there was something called the Beast. Had a great logo.
Yeah.
The logo looked like a character out of the old Gremlin movies, and then after that, I want to say the last hockey team, which after the Beast, I think they were called the Knights. Actually, I have the answer right here on my cheat sheet. Or do I? Oh, here it is. It's over here. It looks like the last hockey team was. Yeah, it looks like it was the Knights. But, yeah, Kevin was a hockey aficionado as well as with automobiles. And tonight we thought we would devote tonight's show to Kevin's memory. Yes. and show some clips. And you knew him. You knew him well.
We should mention that Kevin died tragically on September 27th of this year in a house fire.
Yeah, I remember that story when it happened, and I remember hearing the news and hearing the name. And I remember at the time I thought, why does that name sound familiar? And then I started to see the posts come up of his association with NHTV, and that's when it dawned on me. It's okay, I know who this young man is, and that was tragic.
Well, Kevin and I were classmates together. Him and Walter Mann both graduated the year before me. They both graduated '83. I graduated '84. But Kevin is actually the person who coined my nickname, the Thunderous One.
Oh, really?
Back in high school, during our math class with our instructor, Frank Fiore, Kevin and a few of us developed a mock wrestling league.
Oh, really?
And we used to write up matches, and we used to post them on the bulletin board in the classroom. So I remember at one point, Thunderous Tom Dacey took on Kevin the Hammer Tennyson.
Nice. Nice.
So, you know.
So Kevin would have been right at home with the squared circle, which, by the way, to give you a plug, immediately follows this program tonight here on NHTV.
Yes, and I believe we have some clips
I was just told by Nick in the booth that the first clip is ready.
I believe this first clip is Kevin on Walter Mann's old show, In the Ring.
In the ring, okay. So let's see that. Kevin Tennyson, Walter Mann.
The Four Horsemen idea may be dead, as Ric Flair wanted it to be himself, Kurt Hennig, and the Road Warriors, while Hogan wanted himself, Savage, Flair, and Sting. Boy, there's a little bit of conflict there.
I think there is.
Yeah, there's a little bit of conflict there. Why would you want to have Ric Flair as a good guy?
I don't think you would.
I'd rather have him as a bad guy with
Right,
Mr.
I
Perfect
think
and the
so.
Road Warriors.
I'd rather see him as a bad guy.
I would rather see him with Hennig and the Road Warriors, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. I don't want to see Ric Flair with Hulk Hogan, because Hulk Hogan is nothing compared to Ric Flair. Ric Flair is a tremendous... Hulk Hogan's a cheap imitation ripoff of superstar Billy Graham from the mid-1970s. That's just in... I don't know if you could see this wrestling superstars. You probably can't. You know, it's too far away. There's Hogan and Graham in a dream match. And you could see that he just copied him right down the line. It's ridiculous.
And we should mention that that was not Walter Mann in the clip with Kevin Tennyson. I believe Walter was unable to make the show that evening, and that was another NHTV colleague by the name of Dick Vaughn, who is, I don't know if he's on the board anymore, but he was a past board member.
Oh, okay. Okay, and I see that Mr. Vaughn, along with Kevin, was a wrestling aficionado, so they were discussing wrestling. That did have an '80s look on it. I saw the hairstyle that Kevin had looked like it had very much an '80s vogue.
I believe that was maybe 1993, I want to say.
Oh, it was 1993. Oh, okay, okay.
I think that was
now, I've just been told by Nick that we do have a clip of Kevin, and this one does include Walter Mann in it.
Okay, so let's go to that clip if we have it ready.
Words from Mr. Kevin Tennyson later on. This Bob Backlund thing is really exploding. He lost the title back a few weeks ago at Madison Square Garden, but he really is out there.
The match was fixed. He didn't lose any title. He's still champion, and the people out there that understand, that see through the bull crap here, understand he's still champion.
Let's talk quickly about Backlund. We saw him, I guess last week it was, or the week before, at Raw come out and say to Vince McMahon that he would not retire until he put McMahon in the chicken wing. And the rumors are that there may be an altercation between McMahon and Backlund at WrestleMania in Hartford.
I hope there is. Vince McMahon would be in a lot of trouble if Bob Backlund could procure that chicken wing on him. But let's talk the whole show on Bob Backlund. Why just talk quickly?
Okay, well, we'll have words from you later on about the situation, right?
Maybe you could expostulate on that later on, why
Sure.
it can't be the whole show.
Sure, we will. We'll go into that afterwards.
As you can see there, both Walter Mann and Kevin Tennyson are big Bob Backlund fans.
Yeah, I love Walter like that, doing his best Gene Okerlund, trying to keep the interview upbeat, and Kevin, and you could tell by that clip, obviously was agitated by some of the things Walter was saying, but that was a good clip. It looked like it was around Christmas time, so it looked like I saw a holiday wreath or a Christmas wreath
Christmas
or something
tree
in the
behind it.
background.
I
So-
believe that might have been right before I started talking with Tom.
Oh, okay. Which was it 90, 93, 94? is when you
Well, I
started?
taped it late '93, and it debuted in January of '94.
Okay.
Because I remember my first show, I had the Christmas tree background
Oh, okay.
behind me.
Okay. But Walter, we know Walter does a great job behind the camera, and of course here at NHTV, but he did seem quite at home in front of the microphone during that clip. As I say, the first time I looked at it tonight, the first thing I thought was, Gene Okerlund's got nothing on Walter Mann when it comes to wrestling interviews.
Walt has always been a big wrestling fan, as long as I can remember.
I didn't know that.
I can remember when they were in their old location on Broadway here in North Haven. I can remember spending a lot of time on Saturday evenings. I would just go up to NHTV and sit there, and we'd watch wrestling on Saturday nights up at NHTV. Just hang around the lobby watching wrestling on TV.
Cool. Very good. Very good. We're having a special remembering Kevin Tennyson here at NHTV. He was around for a long time. If you'd like to join in the discussion, we'll be here to the top of the hour. You can give us a call there at 203-907-0436. Maybe you have a particular memory of Kevin, something with hockey, something with cars. He was very passionate about both, and very passionate about his career at NHTV.
One of my fond memories that I'll never forget of Kevin was back when I had my 5th anniversary show at NHTV. Kevin was actually in the studio with me, and Kevin was reading some emails and faxes that I had received, and he was a very big part of the show that evening. And one of the faxes he read came in from Mr. Mike Warren.
Oh, from WNHC,
Yep.
Mike Warren, better known as
Mr. Goober.
Mr. Goober, yeah.
You know, Mike was, giving me praise, saying what a great job I did. He felt very comfortable when I had him on the show, and he wished me best of luck in the future.
And Mike Warren, who we had a guest on our show once we hooked up,
Yep.
over at our sister station, and also I think was he ever here? I don't know if I was here when Mike was here, but he has been a guest on your program and also a guest with us.
He actually did another show here one year when NHTV was running a fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
We called it Dinner-a-thon.
Dinner-a-thon.
We were gonna have. We had a catered dinner from Chef John Preet, and we were selling tickets on the air, trying to raise the funds, and Mike came down, generously donated his time to help sell tickets.
Yeah. Mike, I think, was a legend at WNHC in the early years. Of course, we as aging baby boomers that we are remember him as Mr. Goober. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he also emceed, was a Connecticut Bandstand?
Connecticut Bandstand, and also Midday.
Oh, okay.
With Bob Norman.
Oh, Bob Norman, yep.
And also Dialing for Dollars.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, God, Dialing for Dollars.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
Yep.
So, God, that was funny. That was the glory days. I remember one time Ken Venett came in, and we were reminiscing about the. As a matter of fact, I remember Ken Venett referred to it as the Great Eight.
The Great Eight.
And that's what it was. Now it's we got your back, and and stations go through different logos, but back then it was the Great Eight. So yeah, those were glory years.
Those were the good old days.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this next clip, but I know one of the clips you're going to see a very young, thunderous one in the clip.
And I just received confirmation from the boys in the booth that do not attempt to adjust your set. A very young thunderous one original thunderous one is appearing in this clip.
Remind you tonight, joining us in the studio is thunderous Tom Dacey.
Yes, thunderous Tom Dacey, whom I wrestled several times back in the early 1980s.
And he is our research director here, and
That's
is available
right.
for correspondence on CompuServe. We'll have his address later on. But
Tom
he's making-
procured half of that tag team title back then,
That's right. Well, he's making his last appearance at In the Ring here tonight for the winter. He's going to hibernate for the winter. Actually, he's going to
For
Japan.
what purpose? What's he going to do? What do you mean you're going to Japan?
I'm gonna take you on.
Me?
Training for you.
For your training for me?
Yes.
Thunderous Tom Dacey against me.
I will defeat you.
What do you-
Actually,
Me?
Tom's going to Japan.
For what?
He's going to look at Aja Kong, who is a good friend of Bull Nakano, who is the
No.
WWF Women's Champion.
No, you can't do that. No.
We'll
No.
be heading over to Japan to spotlight some of the Japanese female wrestlers
God.
and perhaps bring one back as his wife. We'll see. Good luck. We'll talk
Good
to
luck
Tom.
to you, Tom.
Later on in the show, I'll have a few words from Tom as he heads off to the land of the rising sun, the Orient.
Can't
for the
do that.
holidays.
Just
We'll
can't
be
do
back
it.
in 60 seconds. Matt Patola will be here just back from New York City here in the Ring on this Monday night. Happy holidays.
A very young Tom Dacey indeed, and a
Can't say that
very
no
quick
more.
shot. No. All right, what year was that?
That has to be around the same time, around 93, maybe early 94.
94. Can I say you've aged gracefully? A lot better than I have.
Thank you. But as they were joking in the clip, I mean, everyone knows that I have to use public transportation to get back and forth to the studio. So a lot of the times I would put my show on hiatus during the winter.
And I could see from that clip that agitated Kevin. He wasn't too happy about that. I like Walter, though. Very professional, very Gene Oakley.
And there's no truth to the fact that I brought back a bride from Japan. Let me just tell you that right now.
Are you sure about that, young man?
No truth to that whatsoever.
Well, that was a good clip, and that was, and that kind of showcased some of the work that Kevin did here at NHTV when it came to professional wrestling here. And I would think he would very much be a part of the squared circle if I'm assuming he still had the passion for wrestling in his later years.
Absolutely. I'm sure if he were here today, he would gladly come on the squared circle.
So.
And
it sounds like if it's anything based on those clips, it would be a lively hour.
oh yeah, I mean, I remember one clip where Tony Persia played a character a couple of times on In the Ring called Joe the Mugger. And I can remember, too bad we didn't have it tonight, it was hysterical. He came in one night, had a pair of dark sunglasses on and a blue bathrobe. And he came, and that was his character name, Joe the Mugger.
Joe the Mugger, so originally.
I'll never forget that. That was comical.
Yeah.
But also, besides In the Ring, as we mentioned, Kevin also hosted Cruisin' Magazine. That was on for many years.
And I think that was the first time I had actually seen his work. I was, flipping the dial one night and happened to come across Cruisin' Magazine, and I'm, as you could tell by the car I drive, I'm not much of a car aficionado.
That old jalopy you drive?
Yes. Every Sunday, me and Maureen go out for a push. So, but I watched the show, and I was just watching him interview the people, and you could see his passion for the car. So I think that might have been, that was the first time I discovered who Kevin Tennyson was. I think I got to know him better through NHTV with his hockey shows.
I'll tell you, I really enjoyed Cruisin' Magazine because him and Walter went out quite a bit. Walter was often his camera person for the show.
Oh, okay.
And just the number of shows they would go to. I mean, Dino's in North Haven had him just about every week, but I mean, he traveled everywhere around the state to all these shows.
And they were very popular, and I guess it's an event that's usually just in the spring and summer months that they have it. They would go to a restaurant or someplace that had a huge parking lot. People would set up their cars, and sometimes there'd be music, and you just walk around, and some of the cars, I mean, were works of art.
That's what I loved about watching the show, because you could just see the amount of work that these people put in on these cars. You wonder, what do they do besides working on their cars? I mean, the amount of detail and
I know they have a passion on it, and I know you know this gentleman, but John and I had him on, Tommy Falconeri from Connecticut Street Rods. He was the same way, I'm sure. And I'm sure probably Tommy and Kevin probably crossed paths.
I believe Kevin knew him. Yeah.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yep.
But Tommy had a passion about cars, and when watching the Cruisin' Magazine, you could just see that the love that these people had for their automobiles and just the care that they took, and it was a good show. It was a good show.
And I can remember too, one of my other fond memories of Kevin, and I wish Walter was here too, because Walter was a big part of this. But for a couple of holidays, we did spoof specials. And one of them was around Christmas. And Walt's probably going to kill me for telling this story because he was very self-conscious at the time. He didn't want people to know it was him. But Walt was in disguise as a character called Jack the Whack. Jack the Whack. And Kevin was in a Santa Claus suit, and his character name was Santa Picasso.
Santa Picasso and Jack the Whack.
Yep.
All right.
And I was really wishing we had a clip tonight, because It was hysterical. And we did it one Christmas, and I can remember that I was on with them, and Tony Persia was in the studio with us. And it just snowballed, let's put it that way. But all through the show, they were referring to me as Little Elvis. And at that time, we had a producer here at NHTV that did a show by the name of Iris David. So the big joke that year was, and Tony got in on it too, that we were going to combine our shows and we were going to be the next Regis and Kathy Lee of NHTV. Well, then Tony got on his keyboard and started playing a song, and he says, "This is Little Elvis's song, this is how he feels." And he started playing "I'll Have a Blue Christmas Without Iris." And the whole thing was just comical. I mean, and let me tell you, we got a little flack from it because Iris happened to be watching at home.
She did not appreciate the humor.
No. And she came down here and kind of caused a little bit of a scene. And
On air?
no.
Oh, okay.
Behind the scenes, and I mean, it just got blown out of proportion, and I basically had the attitude. I was like, look, I was joked about as much as you were. Didn't offend me. I mean, even at one point during the show, I can remember one of our crew members in the back, while I was on screen, put the handicap sign across the screen. It scrolled across. And I looked and I saw it, and I was like, oh, look, there goes old Ironsides rolling by. Didn't bother me.
Yeah.
You know, and I take that attitude to this day. You know, you put yourself in the public eye, you got to be open for that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
mean, look at the late night talk shows, and that's what I said back then. You know, you think the politicians are going to go sue Jay Leno, or, you know?
Yeah, and it's like that. I always say that, you know, when they make fun of you or ridicule you, it's all in good fun.
Yeah. I mean, but that was one of my favorite shows that I did with Walt and Kevin. We also did one at Halloween too. We had.
Let me just say, does that clip still exist somewhere? Is it somewhere in these vast archives of NHTV? Is it around?
I asked Walt if he could find it. Walt was going to try to look, but I guess he didn't have a chance.
How hard did he look?
I may have it in my archives at home. I'll have to dig through, but
Okay.
it was comical.
Okay, all right. I know you were going to. You said something about Halloween. I just got word from Nick that the next clip is ready for viewing. I don't know if do you need to intro it or?
I believe this is another In the Ring clip.
It is a shout out to Jay.
Oh, yes,
So,
we have a
you-
shout out for Hollywood Jay.
Okay.
Happens then, okay. Now we have a caller, Dick, so man the phone. Hello, what's your name?
One that doesn't know how to work a phone.
Okay, hello, caller? He hung up. We lost the caller. Okay, but let's get back to WrestleMania 11. Diesel pinning Shawn Michaels. Now we move a couple of weeks to Monday Night Raw, and Psycho Sid turns on Shawn Michaels. So we'll get back to that. Caller, you're on the air. We're not connected in here. We're apparently not connected in here. Okay. Hold on a minute while I check my monitor. Okay, we're not mic'd in right now. Sid
We're
Vicious
having
turning.
temporary difficulties,
Yeah,
folks.
Sid Vicious turning on. Let's see.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, there we go. We got that.
We're all
Hey,
set. We're
hip hop hooray, ho, hey, ho. Now let's talk about what is Psycho Sid up to.
Shout out to Hollywood Jay. See, he's not the only one that doesn't know how to work a phone, huh?
The phone systems haven't changed much in, I guess, since the late 1980s.
I think that might have been Silent Tony on the phone.
Oh, it's okay. So I have heard of Silent Tony, but who's a frequent caller to this and other programs, I think, too. But it's interesting. We've gone from SNET to SBC to AT&T and Frontier, and still the phones. They're kind of hard to manipulate. Which reminds me, if you want to call, we're dedicating tonight's show to Kevin Tennyson and his work and some of his programs here at NHTV. Should you like to join us from our Frontier landline, you can give us a call at 203-907-0436, 203-907-0436. Again, we will be here until the top of the hour when the aforementioned Jay Williams, along with the Thunderous One, and John Zimmerman will be coming your way to talk about professional wrestling and the squared circle. So
You bet your life.
as they say in the trade, don't touch that dial at the top of the hour. Keep it right where it is for the best in wrestling conversation on the squared circle. I want to ask how the Detroit Lions did this weekend, if you want to.
No.
Speaking of making fun of you, so.
But we should mention also that Kevin also authored a book.
Yes, and actually I did do a little research on that. Kevin, as those of you that know anything of him, was a hockey aficionado, and along with Heather Bernardi, authored a book, Hockey in New Haven, was published in October of 2007, a 128-page book. And if I may, Tom, if I could read this review, because it's an excellent review. New Haven professional hockey has a long and storied history that dates back to 1926, when the Eagles were an inaugural team in the Canadian American Hockey League. 9 professional ice hockey teams have called New Haven home, first in the New Haven Arena, and later on in the New Haven Veterans Memorial Coliseum. New Haven's run in professional hockey ended after the 2001-2002 season, and some of the names that are mentioned in this book by Kevin and Heather, and there are some familiar names to hockey fans, names like Emile Francis, Don Perry, Ron Romer, who I think everybody knows, Chico Resch, Tom Colley, and Glenn Stewart. And Heather Bernardi is the staff accountant of the New Haven Knights Booster Club. The Knights was the name of that last hockey team. And it also gives Kevin credit here as curator of the New Haven Traveling Hockey Museum. And I believe this book is still available. I had saw it on the Amazon.com website. So if you're interested in the long and glorious history of professional ice hockey in New Haven, Kevin was an expert, and it's a fine book. A lot of pictures, 128 pages of strolling down memory lane.
I remember a few years back, I believe it was, that Kevin did a show right from here on New Haven hockey, and another good friend of mine was also in attendance, Rich Coppola.
Oh, Rich Coppola, who we know from Channel 61. And I think that might have been the first show I saw with Kevin. And I remember I tuned it in, and he said something. I was a huge New Haven Blade fan at the old New Haven Arena. And this was back in the late 60s and very early 70s. I tell people I think that's where I got my interest in boxing, was going to New Haven Blade hockey games. Those of you who don't remember the New Haven Blades, if you get a chance to see the Paul Newman movie Slapshot.
Oh, yes.
and that was the Eastern League, I think.
One of my favorite movies, Slapshot.
Yeah. And Don Perry, who was a player and later on a coach with the New Haven Blades. But I remember names like, in New Haven Blade hockey fans, we remember names like Blake Ball, Kevin Morrison, Dave Hainsworth, the goalie,
Sports.
Who later on started Hainsworth Sports, and I believe was a guest that night with Kevin Tennyson. And I also remember the name Gunnar Garrett, who was the trainer and occasionally would play goalie for the New Haven Blades. That was in the legendary New Haven Arena, which unfortunately is now a parking lot.
Parking lot, I
But that
know.
was an awesome show, and I remember I said, well, let me watch a couple minutes, but boy, that got me in for the whole hour, hour and a half, whatever
and you
it was.
know, I have to tell you, I was really, really impressed. The night of Kevin's service, I was over there at North Haven Funeral Home, and Rich Coppola walked in.
Nice.
I was
Nice.
very, very impressed with that. And he was kind of surprised to see me, you know, when he saw me. And, you know, I told him, I said, well, you know, I've known Kevin for years. I went to school with him, and I said, we've done the show together across the street. So,
John and I had a couple of dealings with Rich covering the Rockettes over the years, and he always was a class act.
Always.
Yeah.
I have known.
So I am not surprised when you tell
I've
me that.
known Rich for years. You know, I met Rich when he was working back at KC 101 with all that crew.
Oh, we saw. Oh, I didn't realize he had started there.
Yeah, he
Oh,
was
really?
down at KC 101 when Jerry Christopher and Danny Lyons were all there. So I've known Rich for quite a few years, and as we were talking earlier about the New Haven Nighthawks, I can remember I got involved going to the Nighthawk games because my brother Kevin used to work for WELI as a printer. And at that time, J.C. Small was working there in the sports department. So Kevin would often go and get interviews or whatever for J.C. when he couldn't make it. So Kevin happened to be on the WELI bowling team. They used to bowl on Monday nights over in Hamden, and I used to go with him. And I can remember the first time I went, and I met Roy Malarca, who was in the Nighthawks
Oh, yes.
organization, and I gotta tell you, my first impression was like, who the hell is this guy? Because I went, no, I
It's about
went,
Malacca?
yeah, I went, no, I went to the snack bar and I got a bag of chips, and I'm sitting there and I'm eating them. Roy comes over, takes my chips, and starts passing them around. You know, so, and I remember my brother Kevin that night talking to Roy, and he said, hey Roy, you gonna be able to get me the press pass this season for the Nighthawks? And Roy says, yeah, sure, no problem. He goes, what about your brother? Would he like one? So he asked me. I was like, sure. So my brother Kevin and I, we often went to the Nighthawk games on Friday nights and Sunday nights when they were home. And we would sit right in the first section. So we often sat with Rich Coppola. He would sit right behind us.
Okay.
And we had the press passes, so like during intermission, we would go down to the press room. So we got to mingle with some people and whatnot, but those were some fond memories too. I mean, we even took a trip to Rochester.
Oh, really?
My brother Kevin and I.
Who was was Rochester Americans?
Rochester Americans. Unfortunately, the game we went to, they lost in double overtime.
Good game, though.
Yeah.
Good game,
but,
though. I know of the name Roy Malarca, and back in the 70s, there used to be a little-known sports show out of WYBC in New Haven. It was called The Line on Sports. It was run by a couple of brothers in West Haven who actually I just reconnected with on Facebook. And they used to have a group of regular callers, and they would have names like Boston Jack and Mr. Coffee. And I used to call up, and my name was Bobby Chacon for some. It was a boxing reference. But Roy Malarca used to come in studio, and he was very, very funny.
Very funny guy.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
funny guy.
He was good, but he used to talk about the Nighthawks. But yeah, when you mentioned that name, Malarca, I remember.
I can remember, you know, I went into the locker room quite a few times. And I had a collection, believe it or not. I don't have them anymore because my brother Kevin took them all when he was playing hockey with some of the. I had a collection of sticks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? No, you used to go on Friday nights and Sundays. We used to go on Friday night, and I think at the time it cost me $6. It was a great price. You know, the toughest part was trying to drive up the
find a
roof of
parking
the
space,
Coliseum.
too,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But we saw it was good hockey. It wasn't quite as roughhouse as the Blades were as far as the rules violation, but it was good hockey, and we saw some good players. I remember Tom Colley and John Bednarski. I remember, and a host of other players. Those were good years, and thanks to Kevin, who we are honoring tonight with about 25 minutes or so left till the top of the hour. Kevin's involvement in hockey and as a historian, and we're thankful for that.
I think what our closest now is the Bluefish, right? Bridgeport.
As far as hockey, yeah, the Bluefish or the
I mean Sound Tigers.
the
I'm
Sound
sorry.
Tigers.
Sound Tigers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and there is the
that
God, who's the team in Hartford? The Wolfpack, the Hartford Wolfpack. So, you know, it's a good thing our very knowledgeable studio
You know,
audience.
my favorite part though was when the Whalers were in town. I would go see the Whalers when they were playing the Bruins.
Oh, really? Up at the Civic Center.
Yep. And
Did they pack them in?
oh yeah, and you know what always amazed me? I mean, here we were in Connecticut, but every time the Bruins scored, that place just rocked. I mean, that's what always amazed me. I mean, there was more Bruins fans
Bruins fans like to used to say that about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
than there were Whalers fans in their own home state. You know.
Now you've been to a couple of Whaler games when you were up there. Do you agree when people say that Hartford can't support a National Hockey League franchise? Because that's been the argument I think for years.
I was sad to see them go. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed going there when the Bruins would be in town, but like I said, there was always more Bruins fans there than there were Whaler fans.
When there were other teams in there, teams that weren't quite as local as the Bruins, do you recall if the games were sold out, or was it easy to get a ticket?
I don't recall. Don't recall, because like I said, I only went whenever the Bruins were in town.
Every once in a while, and we're getting a little bit off subject here, but sometimes I'll travel like, you know, down south, or I'll go to Las Vegas or something like that. But every once in a while in an airport, I'll see somebody with a New England Whalers uniform.
Really?
So it's, yeah, the Whalers may be gone, but they certainly aren't forgotten.
Well, of course, you know, Kevin was a big Ranger fan, so
Oh, really?
we always fought tooth and nail on that.
Oh God, he would have loved this past season with the New York Rangers almost making it to Lord Stanley's Cup.
Well, the year they won it, I never heard the end of it.
That was the 1994 with Mark Messier.
Yep, I never
and,
heard the end of it
oh,
in
really?
'94.
Well, that was what did they say? I think it was 54 years.
Him and Walter wanted to know if I wanted to take a trip to go see the Cup. No, thank you.
Actually, you know, now that I think about it, that I did get to see Lord Stanley's Cup. I had a road race up at Gaylord Hospital, and it was in 1995. But as I understand it, each member of the team could have Lord Stanley's Cup
for a week or
some amount of time.
yeah.
But Brian Leach from
Yep,
Cheshire, Connecticut, was a member of that team, and when he had control of the cup, he very graciously donated it to Gaylord Hospital. And the day, of course, it was guarded, but the day of the road race, the cup was out there, so people that wanted to have their picture taken. But I remember I had my picture taken with it, and I showed it to Maureen's father, who was a diehard Bruins fan, and he wouldn't talk to me for months.
I don't blame him.
But anyway, again, we're just kind of reminiscing about hockey, which Kevin Tennyson would have liked. We're having our Kevin Tennyson tribute show, and do we have more clips? Or,
I believe that's all we had. We weren't
okay.
able to locate any more. I was hoping that Walt might have been able to dig some up of Cruisin' Magazine.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, those cruising magazines were phenomenal.
And that actually started in 1987, I think, was the first time that that the Cruisin' magazine has been on. I guess NHTV has been on here since 1984, if memory serves. So shortly after that.
And Walter was one of the founding members.
Oh, was he?
Yep.
Yep. And Kevin was there. As a matter of fact, I also saw after. I guess it was just maybe a few weeks after Kevin had passed away, that NHTV had a Kevin Tennyson marathon.
Yes, I do remember that.
Saturday, September 27th, and it was from 12 noon to 12 midnight. And I just wrote down some of the shows. There were hockey shows, cruise night, West Haven Yankees, New Haven Coliseum Remembered, In the Ring,
Yep.
and here's one, New Haven Coliseum Hockey Fights, which neither you or I'm assuming they don't mean in the stands, but maybe they mean that. And we talked about Kevin doing a lot of work for NHTV. I also, in looking through some of the NHTV website pictures, there was a picture of Kevin in 2011 at the Chowder booth at the North Haven Fair.
I actually interviewed him.
Oh, did you?
Now,
was that when we were covering it? 'Cause I know you interviewed. I know you interviewed another
Joyce
lady.
Celeste.
Joyce,
as
yes,
well.
yes.
Yeah, I believe I interviewed Kevin the same day.
Oh, okay.
But I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He worked the Chowder booth at the North Haven Fair.
So nice.
But yeah. As I said, you know, Kevin is greatly missed around here. I understand he was on the board too. He was a board member here at NHTV.
Yeah, I had saw that as well. So he was, and it sounds like he whatever he was involved in, he kind of threw himself completely in. Whether here with NHTV, with the programs, of course, his passion for hockey is well documented, and his passion for vintage automobiles is documented too. He kind of threw everything into it. So.
I can remember when they imploded the Coliseum. That I remember putting on a DVD for Kevin.
Right.
Yep, I remember giving it to him.
I remember that was a Saturday morning. I think it was in January. And I remember being at work. I had to work that day, but they did bring a TV out. And
boy, that went right down too, huh?
Yeah, and it was kind of sad because I think we all have memories of the.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my dad worked right next door.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, my dad was in the Knights of Columbus right next door.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, for 37 years, and I mean, anytime we wanted tickets for anything, he would run over.
Yeah. We saw a lot of good hockey there. I remember seeing, I don't know if I should be embarrassed to say this, but I saw Elvis there back in 1977. Actually, I think it was about a month before Elvis died.
I was going to say, yeah, it must have been close right
Yeah,
before he
yeah,
died.
I think it was in July. It was an awesome show. I remember that, so. I didn't bring Maureen, so I don't want to talk about it then. But
Shame on you. Shame on you.
But we saw a lot of hockey there, and we saw a lot of, and I'm sure the younger people don't recall. Everything now is pay-per-view with the squared circle events and the boxing events in different events. But back then, everything was on what they call closed circuit television.
The first WrestleMania, I remember going to New Haven Coliseum, and watching it on closed circuit TV.
I had gone to my best closed circuit event I saw down there was the Ali Foreman fight in 1974, the Rumble in the Jungle as it came to be known, when Muhammad Ali is a huge underdog, I think an 8-1 underdog, knocked out George Foreman in the 8th round. But I remember there was a huge screen out in front of the ice, and then people just packed in, and it was like going to a huge movie theater. But that was exciting. Those were in the days before
Before
pay-per-view. Yeah, before cable TV. And as a matter of fact, I do remember in the New Haven Arena in 1971 going to see the first Muhammad Ali Joe Frazier fight.
Oh, wow.
Which for hardcore boxing fans is like the holy grail of boxing events. So yeah, the New Haven Arena and the New Haven Coliseum both leaving a huge imprint on the New Haven sports scene, and a huge imprint to Kevin Tennyson and to an aging baby boomer like myself.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. But, you know, I wanted to do this tonight. I said we had to do a tribute to Kevin because he was such a big part of NHTV, and as I said, he coined my name, the Thunderous One.
which I didn't realize until tonight.
Yep. So, I mean,
It fits.
those were some great times, and he will be sorely missed.
Yeah. And if you'd like to call in, you're still welcome to give us a call here at 203-907-0436. If you have a particular memory about Kevin or a story about him, or even something about hockey or the Coliseum or the arena, I'm sure Kevin wouldn't mind. So
No.
maybe you have a classic car you want to talk about. And we will assure you that the phones will work somewhat better they did in that clip that we saw with Kevin and, and
Hollywood
Jay. Hollywood Jay, who will be right here in studio at the top of the hour as
If he can find the studio, that is.
as we segue from talking with the Thunderous One to the Squared Circle with Tom Dacey, Hollywood J. Williams, and John Zimmerman, giving you the best in wrestling news. And
You bet your life.
yep, and continuing to take your calls at 203-907-0436. But right now we want to spend what remaining time we have just kind of remembering a good man, as I said at the top of the hour, not somebody that I did not have the privilege to meet, but someone I think that I think I do know him just from watching his work.
I can also remember back in the day with Storm Josh. I believe Kevin Tennyson was also a part of that when Walter Mann and George Harvey stayed on here for 24 hours.
I remember here. Was it Storm Josh? Was that?
Yes.
Was that? Do you remember what year that was?
I don't recall.
If somebody knows and wants to give us a call.
All I know is I was home watching it, and I actually called in because they were taking live calls, you know, to get the road conditions from different people around town and what they were doing.
That is
during
awesome
the storm.
that Walter and Kevin and the staff here were
Yep.
able to stay on. Or were they ahead of their time?
And I can also remember one year, I don't remember what year it was, but we did a New Year's show. And that's when we were at our old location at 21 Broadway.
Okay.
And we hooked up a mock ball on the flagpole out in front. And I remember my nephew Steven standing out there lowering it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
at midnight.
Okay. I believe we have we do have a call here, and let's hope this works. And it doesn't. I knew we have I got the word that we had a caller. Nick, do we still have that caller on the line? And I'm waiting to hear. Okay, efforting to make that. And actually, this is. He told me who the caller was, but I don't want to announce. But it's someone that I think is familiar, and someone that's actually part of the NHTV family here, who may have some nice words for Kevin Tennyson. Again, you could give us a call at 203-907-0436.
Well, I think we'll have the caller back.
Okay, let's try this. Do a take two.
Hi, you're on Talking with Tom.
Hey, talking with Tom. Bill Delane, how are you? How are you, Tom? How are you, Ed?
Very good. Very
Hello,
good, Bill.
Yes, Kevin Tennyson was a very valuable member of NHTV. One thing he did for me was that he asked me to interview Rick Hanley, who did the CPTV special called The Last Days of the Coliseum. So he arranged for me to have Rick on the air, and that's one of the better shows I've done. In fact, that particular show, because of Kevin, that show is out on YouTube. If you type Bill Space NHTV, you can go watch that interview. But Rick was very knowledgeable about the history of the Coliseum. And, of course, his documentary was very good on CPTV. And that snowstorm that you mentioned, excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. That snowstorm, I believe that's the one that was like March 12th, 1993. We were in the old place. Is that the one you're talking about, Tom?
Yes, the one we were at 21 Broadway.
Yes,
Yep.
that's the storm, yes. Howard Loopy was in, George Harvey was co-hosting, Walt was co-hosting. I think Dan was co-hosting at one point, Walt Mann and Dan Morris. Howard Loopy was the second selectman at that point. And Tony Resigno was the first selectman, but he was out of town, so Howard Loopy was in charge.
I can remember being home watching you guys be troopers on the air all that time.
What was it like that night, Bill? Did you realize you were starting a trend? Did you realize it would be a 24-hour news show long before 24-hour news shows became in vogue?
Well, 1993, news shows were in at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I was home watching this. I was home watching the whole coverage. I was not at the studio.
Oh, okay, okay.
And but I know it was Walt's Dan. Mike Sharmack was also involved with that.
I think Kevin was on for quite a little bit, though, too, I believe, that night, too, I believe.
Yes, and that was that storm went from Saturday afternoon until more than Sunday, I guess. But we also carried Governor Lowell Weicker. We carried Governor Lowell Weicker's press conference during that too.
Yep, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to the efforts of Walter Mann on that one.
Yes, and Kevin used to do Cruisin' Magazine, which was a very good show. In fact, we still show that as part of classic NHTV.
Yeah, we were talking about that quite a bit. How many seasons? Do you remember how many seasons that ran, Bill?
I can't remember, but that was one of our earliest shows. We were running that in the 80s.
Yeah.
I like that classic NHTV because I've seen some of the programs and it's just awesome. And I do have to comment, Bill, I did see that Coliseum show, and that was top shelf. I loved every minute of that show.
Hey,
Thank you.
Hey, Bill, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Can we add some Santa Picasso and Jack the Whack to the classic NHTV?
No, I don't think we should.
I was kind of wishing we had a clip. I asked Walter earlier in the week if we could pull some of that out. I wanted to show one of those clips tonight, but I guess Walt was unable to find it.
Well, there are a couple of shows that we have thrown away, and for good reason.
Well, I think I might have it in my archives, so I might have to dig it up.
The worst thing about watching NHTV Classic is you see me with dark hair. I don't have dark hair anymore. So it's like...
Who does?
That's Bill Delaney's kid, yeah. No, that's me 20, 25, 30 years ago. I've been here 30 years, believe it or not.
Wow. Well, we appreciate the phone call, and thank you, Bill, for strolling down memory lane with us.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for doing a tribute to Kevin Tennyson.
My pleasure, Bill. You know that.
Okay.
You have a good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that, of course, is Bill Delane, who's another stalwart here at NHTV, has a very successful show, aptly titled Interview
with Bill
Bill Delane. Yep, does a good job at that. We are under 5 minutes until we hit the finish line. For me, it's the finish line. For you, it's the halfway point in your marathon.
Before we wrap up this evening, I just want to make an announcement that I want to thank everyone that came out and supported my 8th annual Tommy Palooza this year for the Imagine It Fund. in conjunction with Concerts with Causes. We raised over $1,000.
Nice, nice.
This
And
year.
Tommy, you should take a bow yourself. I know you and Lisa and Terry did a lot of.
Tina.
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 Oh God. Take two. You and Lisa and Tina did an awesome job on this, and the money went for a good cause. So. As I often say after your Tommy Paloozas, take a bow, young man. You did well.
Thank you, and we want to thank our good friend Cadillac John Seville
Yes.
for
Yep.
making a brief
Yep.
appearance. He wished he could have stayed longer, but he had a wedding that afternoon.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay. Not his.
No.
All right. Good.
but we want to thank him, and I just want to remind everybody once again, would you believe we're coming to the end of our 21st season already?
The older I get, the faster it goes by.
Want to let everybody know that a few short weeks, that jolly old man from up north will be making an appearance here at NHTV.
And again, I don't know, with 3 minutes remaining here, I don't know how where you get the clout or who you know to get the big man here on what undoubtedly is his busy time of the year. But again, you've done it.
That will be our annual Toys for Tots show for the U.S. Marine Corps Toys for Tots. So I just want to make a plea to everybody out there. If you'd like to donate to our Toys for Tots, you can contact NHTV during normal business hours. If you'd like to drop something off before the show, we'd really appreciate it.
That's always a fun show. I've lost count of how many times we've done it. We're probably in double figures by now. But
Yes, we are.
But it is very much a fun show, and it's only 3 or 4 weeks away. So it's
I believe it's
exciting.
Tuesday, December 2nd.
December 2nd. Okay. I will mark it on my calendar, and I'll
Mark
try
that
and be
down.
good until then.
No coal for you this year?
Well, well, as I said before, I promise I try not to talk about the Jets, but at this point we're 2-8 and feeling great. So we've got just under a minute left. So
Edward,
another good show.
thank you once again.
Thank you to Kevin Tennyson and all,
Yes,
and
thank
all the
you
work
for your years of service, Kevin.
he's done. And thank you to the veterans for
Yes,
their
we
service
wanna-
today, Veterans
we
Day.
wanna wish all our veterans a very happy Veterans Day and thank them for their service.
Thank you for your service.
Without them, we wouldn't be here having the rights that we have today.
It is very much appreciated. So.
But Kevin may be gone, but not forgotten.
Right. And keep it right where it is, the squared circle with the Thunderous One, Hollywood J, and John Zimmerman coming up shortly.
Did Jay find the studio, by the way?
We'll find out. Oh, Nick just said he did. And Jay doesn't even know how to spell GPS, I understand. So, but he did find the studio. All right, I'm going to make my way and stay tuned for Tom and the gang on the squared circle. And
Good night, everyone. See you next time.
Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Turn your dial to cable 18. You will see the best in TV. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Sit back and listen. You will hear the best conversation of the year. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom. Just talking with Tom.